Well, welcome to this International Sports Convention Virtual Week, and our webinar now is our Sport Radar Summit, and we're looking very much today with a focus on Sport Radar, and I'm delighted to say that we're joined by 4 panelists today. And to start with, let's welcome Hampus Lofkvist, and Hampus is the Director of Global Sponsorship Sales for Sport Radar, sports marketing professional with 13 years experience in the industry. He joined Sport Radar in 2018 as Director Global Sponsorship Sales. In this role, he's leading the development of the company's global brand of partnership business, ensuring the growth of the ads division. Previously, Hampus spent 2 years at MP and Silver as Director of Sponsorship Europe. He started his career with UEFA in Switzerland and has worked right across the range of UEFA's competitions. So Hampus, welcome to you. Also joining us today, the Commercial Director of FC Bologna, Christoph Winterling. And Christoph has in-depth knowledge of the international sports business and marketing industry, having worked at top global sports marketing agencies, multinational companies, and again, some top European football clubs. He has a strong track record of developing new and restructuring existing businesses to increase revenues and brand awareness globally. Also with us today from New Jersey, it's welcome to Adam Davis, the Chief Commercial Officer of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, HBSE. And Adam has a portfolio that includes the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Jersey Devils, leading venue Prudential Center in New York, New Jersey, the Grammy Museum Experience at Prudential Center, the Delaware Bluecoats, Binghamton Devils, the Sixers Innovation Lab, many clubs to name a lot more, which we won't go into quite at this stage, but it's great to have your expertise on the panel, Adam. Thank you for that. Kyle is also with us, Kyle Wachtel, the Head of Partnerships at BETMGM. And as Head of Partnerships at BETMGM, Kyle oversees their partnership and affiliate program. Those partnerships include sports sponsorships with leagues and teams, as well as other strategic partners such as Yahoo Sports and the Buffalo Wild Wings. He joined BETMGM in January of 2019 and was formerly at FanDuel up until then, and exiting there as Director of Marketing Partnerships. So that's our panel for this discussion today. Let's move swiftly on then and have a look at why betting sponsorship is so important for Sport Radar. Hampus, if we can come to you to kick us off with this one. Why is it so important to Sport Radar?
Thanks, Andrew. Well, first of all, great to be here, and thanks to the fellow panelists here today. Looking forward to some great discussions. So yeah, we launched this division called Ads at Sport Radar just over 2 years ago. It was really the missing piece of the puzzle, if you will, of all the services that Sport Radar offers sportsbooks. So data, AV, trading, and now also marketing services to improve efficiency in spending and ultimately user acquisition, right? So we have a pretty unique position as a company where we work with 600 sportsbooks worldwide and a couple hundred rights holders as well directly. So that was a good place for us to start. And we did so firstly by building an ad tech stack in-house for a programmatic advertising service, which is really built to be focused and bespoke for the betting industry. And secondly, seeing that at least well, the research we did on a global average, sportsbooks were spending roughly a third of their marketing budget on sponsorship. So we also wanted to add a partnership service to advise our clients on this process from deal facilitation to the activation of these deals using insights and tools like betting data that we have access to at Sport Radar, and of course through a team of experts that we have around the world. So yeah, it's been a fun 2 years building it up. We're in a position now to be working with around 60 sportsbooks clients in ads, and recently launched in the US. And yeah, it's connected us with a lot of great people, such as the 3 gentlemen on the panel today.
Well, let's go around that panel. We'll start with you, Kyle, if we may, with your knowledge of this. You're the Head of Partnerships, BETMGM. Very much a growing market, and one that I should imagine you're excited to be in.
Yeah, no, growing market is probably the best way to describe it. I mean, the space is moving incredibly quickly. Just even within the past week, we went live with our casino product in Pennsylvania. As of today, we're going live with our product in Michigan for pre-registration. And we are close to launching sports in Pennsylvania as well. So it's moving quickly, not slowing down for anyone. And I think the partnership space is critical to our efforts as we continue to expand to new markets there. So, I mean, whether it's a media publisher like Yahoo, a national sports bar chain like Wild Wings, or our league and team sponsorships, I mean, at its core, partnerships are two parties with aligned interests that complement each other well. Certainly, like right now, we're at a stage in our business where expanding new states and reaching a broad audience and engaging with that audience, hoping that they do trial our product and enjoy it and continue to wager on it is really at its the focal point of what we do. But then I guess just to quickly speak on more specifically those sports team partnerships where we have made a pretty deep investment to date. I believe we're at 8 announced so far, and a few more to come that we're really excited about. But I mean, those partnerships allow us the opportunity to connect our brand, which is still relatively new, BetMGM. We were formerly PlayMGM for a little while, but really BetMGM is just over a year old, having launched in September of 2019. And yeah, we have the opportunity to connect BetMGM with their fan base, and those teams partnerships really lend well to that state-by-state nature of sports betting, where last year this time we may have been operating in only 2 states. Our product is now in 10 states today to various degrees. And we think that they've been a big piece of the success over the past 2 years for us here.
Adam, coming to you, obviously mentioned that you're responsible for a whole suite, a whole portfolio of sports businesses, and including teams. But how important is this data-driven concept of business that we've just been hearing about? How important is that to you?
Well, thanks for having me first and foremost. I would say the data for the operators like Kyle is our fans, right? I mean, it's our fans, it's our fan base, it's our customers. I love sports betting. We at HBSE, we love sports betting because the way that we look at our customers is how do we improve the experience? How do you enhance the fan experience? How do you drive greater engagement? And I think that sports betting is a phenomenal avenue to be able to do that. And I think one of the great things that we have the ability to offer partners such as Kyle is an introduction to our fans and a trust and belief that they can trust in the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Devils, that we're going to partner with the best possible partners out there. And these are the partners that we trust that you can go play on their platforms. So we love it, really excited about the future.
In terms of that, is it about the product then? Because quite often the UK experience is perhaps that, sports teams come out every year, their shirts branded with a different betting sponsor. But it sounds like you're looking for something a bit more. You're looking for a longer term partnership. And as you say, the quality assurance for your fans, for the fans of your teams.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the other thing too is it's hard to necessarily compare the US to Europe. Early on when the PASPA repeal was going to come to New Jersey and our stake in Crystal Palace, I was doing a lot of work with my counterparts over there to learn this space. And it's so mature in Europe. And I think that's the biggest nuance that if you said the 2 words William Hill on any street in the UK, everyone knew who you were talking about. If you said William Hill in the state of New Jersey 2 years ago, the response was who? So I think I think the comparisons are the UK is where the US will likely be in the next 10 years, but I also don't necessarily see as wide of scale as you see in the EPL, where they have a lot of lot of operators that are coming out of China and other areas in APAC. I don't necessarily see that being the same play in the US. I think you're going to see US sports leagues working with US operators.
Adam, thank you. Christoph, let's bring you in on this, the Commercial and Marketing Director for Bologna FC. How important to your business, to Bologna, is the sports betting business? How, as it stands, but also how important to your future revenues? We'll come on to talk about the impacts of COVID on everybody soon, but let's talk pre-COVID. What direction was it going in for you at Bologna, Christoph?
So first of all, hello to everybody, and thanks ISG for the invitation. I apologize that nobody can see me. Perhaps it's even better because I'm getting older and I have some gray hair, so perhaps it's better for the audience. Before answering to your question, Andrew, just let you give me a quick overview about the situation in Italy, which partly answers also your question. In Italy, betting brands were allowed to advertise until the end of the season 18 and 19. So betting brands were allowed to collaborate with the football clubs, with other sport clubs, with leagues, with federations, but also allowed to advertise on TV, on radio, and other communication channels. At the end of 2018, the government decided to stop advertising from betting brands on all communication channels. So also on sport channels, also with football clubs. And it obviously had a very big impact on our sponsorship revenues. To give you an idea, Serie A lost around 50 million euro only due to that decision. The goal of the government was to reduce sport betting. They saw a threat in that. They saw that the sponsorship agreements will help to increase betting. In the last 2 years, it was shown that this wasn't affecting betting. So we hope that in the future we will have again the opportunity to work together with the betting partners. But at the current stage, it's not allowed to expose betting brands in Italy. So also for us as a club, it had a very bad negative impact on our financial situation as we were working together with betting brands. And especially in this period where we already have to sell the other income revenues which we were planned, obviously this hits us enormously.
Absolutely. You've touched, Adam, on the differences between the US and the rest of the world. Can we just come back to that one briefly? Because there are partnerships. You've mentioned about William Hill and the New Jersey Devils partnership there. Give us a bit of an insight into how that's working then, as you say, the integration of a betting company like William Hill that have come into the US. How has that been received?
I think it was received tremendously well. Again, William Hill's goals and objectives within the partnership were, at the time, they had 1% brand recognition in the state of New Jersey. So I think Kyle will tell you, when you introduce betting and sports betting, it's about trust, and it's about people trusting that you are a brand, and you have companies in the US like MGM, who's been around forever, Caesars, who's been around, and then the daily fantasy brands like FanDuel and DraftKings that built for years a brand in the United States and then evolved into sports betting and iGaming. William Hill came out of nowhere. So again, the goal and objective for William Hill was not only to introduce the brand, but to introduce the brand and make sure that people understood what they did, which was sports betting. So for us, what we did in the Prudential Center was we built the William Hill Sports Lounge, because the rules in the state of New Jersey is we can't have an actual sports betting book where you can take live wages via teller, but we do have online mobile gaming. So we built a lounge in the concourse of the Prudential Center that mirrors a William Hill sportsbook. And it was great because if you didn't know who William Hill was beforehand, when you saw this huge sports book, you quickly figured out that it wasn't a beer company. I hope. And then secondarily, I think one of the things William Hill did really, really well was then education. I think that's the biggest thing of growth in the United States right now is there's so much scale available in the US of sports betting customers, but candidly, it's about they're not educated enough yet. And I think for many of us, there's things in life we're all hesitant to try because we just don't know exactly how to do it. Maybe you don't want to go into the stock market because you're not sure how to, what stocks to bet. It's not that different in sports betting. So in addition to introducing the brand, having a sports book, they had ambassadors within the lounge itself to actually educate the fans, show them how to sign up for the app, how to place a wager, what all these crazy numbers that they're looking at on the boards actually mean. So I think in totality, it was a fantastic partnership for what they were trying to accomplish.
And you described the UK and the European market perhaps as very mature in the experience that you had with your counterparts operating at Crystal Palace, for example. But were there any sort of nuggets of good practice there that you were able to take and implement in this partnership?
Yeah, I think the nuggets were. So let me take one step back. Our philosophy at HBSE in a perfect world is you have one partner in a category and they're exclusive, and you put everything you can behind them to drive their business. That's the preference. When I was talking to our friends in the EPL, in general, they'll have 3 to 4 different partners, and the reason is, and Hampus and Christoph can certainly speak to this, is there's not loyalty necessarily to a specific operator. It's who's giving me the best odds on that bet at that point in time. So you might take the Devils to win the game early on, and you're placing that bet on BetMGM because it's the best odds. But then the in-play bet at the end of the first period might be the best odds are on William Hill. So then you're going to William Hill. That was interesting to me as we learned, like, okay, you're not necessarily loyal. It's almost like the rental car business in the United States. It's like whoever's got the cheapest price, I'll rent. That's the car that I'll rent. And then secondarily, with our philosophy, what we also learned, which was not about Crystal Palace, but in the United States, was each budget, and Kyle can speak to this better than I, but each budget is built state by state based off, are you paying a licensing fee to get in? What's the tax rate that you have to pay to be in there? And thirdly, and probably most importantly for those that are listening, is like operators don't make a lot of money. People see these crazy handles and they're like, New Jersey was $800 million in handle last month, and people think, oh, well, Kyle must have $800 million to spend. It's the operators are making 5% at best. So that again lends itself to what also drove us to having multiple partners, because as much as I think Kyle would probably say, hey, we would love to just be the partner, economically it doesn't make sense. So then the question is, can you deliver value for each of those partners, and can you carve a path that not only gets them to where they want to be, which is ultimately our fans playing on our platform, but also to not fatigue the fan base. To what I think Christoph was alluding to early on is, wow, I'm a New Jersey Devils fan or I'm a 76ers fan, and I just got the third email in a day from the third betting operator of the 76ers, and now I'm just going to tune out. So I think it's about building those strategies and being really smart in how you do it.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that, if you don't mind, that, yeah, as Adam had referenced, exclusivity is really always the preference if costs were to be equal, and there might be some instances that merit it, where there's really deep integrations like a Yahoo partnership or market access considerations. But yeah, ultimately where things have netted out, and I think fairly so, is that 2 to 3 range ultimately works out best in most instances. It's a level where we're comfortable with the partnership and the value that we're receiving. The teams are also comfortable with the overall investment from the category, and they do have to do due diligence in respect to that for their teams. But ultimately, it's a competitive market. Adam and I both live in New Jersey, where there are probably too many online gaming and betting apps to count right now. So I mean, I think even the instance of a semi-exclusive partnership in 2 to 3, you're still differentiating yourselves from that larger group. And then I'll admit that we're also confident at BetMGM in our ability to work really closely with partners and execute and maximize the opportunity. I think it also helps that we do have the connection to MGM Resorts, where not only do they bring that instantaneous trust to our products, that people know their money's safe and that they'll get their winnings, but we can also bring different things to the table to our partners, whether that be trip packages to any of the MGM Resorts properties, and connecting their whole entertainment portfolio. I mean, in New Jersey, we have the Borgata in Atlantic City that we can tap into. So, I mean, if you're even a Sixers fan in Philadelphia, that's a short trip for you. So things like that are essentially differentiators that we can bring within those 2 to 3 partners that we might be competing with for share of voice.
Christoph, let's bring you in on this one. Thanks for that, Kyle. Going back to Adam's experience and what you've heard there from Kyle, you know, where do you see the situation for you in Italy? Are there similarities in terms of working with betting operators?
Yeah, it's similar to what Adam said. I mean, we as a club also looking into exclusive partnership. I think it's always a challenge for a club to find the right balance between exclusivity and working together with only a few partners and maximizing revenues. But I mean, we as a club, we always try to work together with the few partners possible, because we also believe that by giving exclusivity to the partner, I think we can both send out the strongest message to our fans and tell them, okay, this is our partner. This is the company which is working for us. Support our partner, because the advantage of a partnership with a football club is also that having fans which are often very loyal, then they prefer the partner of the club. And if you work only together with one brand, the message is much stronger and much clearer. But there are a few categories which with whom we don't have exclusivity, and perhaps which are not always interested in having exclusivity, because they have different goals. And one of them is the betting industry. There are a lot of clubs which have several betting brands, because some of them are mainly interested in having visibility. It's for some of them really all about visibility. So they don't have even a problem if they see a different brand on the LED boards, which is actually a competitor, but they are okay with it.
Hampus, from your perspective, from a Sport Radar perspective, how well do you think the rights holders are sort of set up at the moment to deliver that return on investment for a betting partner? You know, there must be all sorts of technological developments that are aimed really at delivering exactly the kind of things that we've heard about already from Adam, Kyle, and Christoph. That different members of this family, if you like, everybody, all the partners that are involved in this, the stakeholders, everybody needs a return on investment, don't they? And what do you think might be the developments that will drag this still further forward?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, whether you go exclusive or non-exclusive, at the end of the day, rights holders need to deliver value for their partners. I mean, it's a two-way exchange, right, in regards to a successful partnership. And I think over the last probably 5 years or so, rights holders in sports have in general become a lot better at sort of understanding that value of their fan data and all the touch points that they have to their fan base, and really starting to collect, store, segment, and ultimately use that data, right? And I think, as both Adam and Christoph have said, like, rights holders, teams, leagues are naturally careful, I think rightly so, not to over commercialize their fan base, but ultimately that's what this is about, right? It's serving more relevant content and ads to people that are interested in them, and you know, not having all these sort of mass communications that often get overlooked as spam. And that's something which is definitely happening more and more. there are tools for how to do that. It's something which we at Sportradar work on as well, and are working with both rights holders and operators for how to do, right, and to see better engagement by serving up ads or widgets which are based on a user's fan affinity, betting habits, but also what's happening in the game that they might be watching, and that's a pretty interesting way to also activate a sponsorship.
Let's come back. Thanks, gentlemen. Let's come back to this aspect that's been mentioned already of exclusivity in betting. How important do we think that is? We mentioned, Adam, really that you know, you do have that situation in the US where perhaps appear to favour really a non-exclusive approach to betting partnerships. Well, exclusive really from your point of view, but across Europe, it's that sort of mix of, you know, can you see that changing? Do you think that the US will adopt a sort of a spread approach in the future, or is it what works best for you at the moment?
I don't necessarily see, well, let me say this. I think that you're seeing a lot of operators come into US. I think that ultimately you will see consolidation. And I think that there will be somewhere in the range of probably 6 or so really key players for the long haul. I think even seeing the William Hill Caesars deal that's going to happen, right? You had 2 operators that are now coming together as one. So I think once the playing field levels out and what that looks like over the next, let's call it 5 or so years, could that change the dynamic? For sure. At the same time, too, I almost liken it to the auto industry in the US. The auto industry is one category that has, for whatever reason, has always been okay to have multiple partners. You know, when you're watching on TV in the US, any sports, you're going to watch a Toyota commercial, and then all of a sudden it goes from Toyota to Ford, and that seems to be okay and fine. I think in sports betting, if I had to bet on that, I think it will be similar. You know, the most recent deal that was announced between Sinclair and Bally's, which is a really interesting deal. For those that don't know, Sinclair owns a bunch of regional sports networks in the United States covering local teams in baseball and hockey and the NBA. And Bally's has bought the naming rights to the Sinclair network. But all of those networks have the opportunity to go sell other sports betting partners. So Kyle can say, hey, Bally's, enjoy that money you just spent, but I'm going to come in and I'm going to put BetMGM all over these broadcasts, so I'll be able to reach these people as well. So I think the way that it's being set up, I do think that that's what the long term probably looks like, especially since that 5% I went back to early on. I think in most instances, you'll see multiple players.
And Christoph, just coming to you on this one, the European model tends to be exclusive branding to partners, doesn't it? Especially in terms of betting shirt sponsorship, and that's the kind of thing that we don't necessarily see so much of in the States. The sort of branding on sports kit in particular. How is Bologna looking at sort of exclusivity versus non-exclusivity in the partnerships that you broker?
Yeah, again, as I said, I think we have to find the right balance between working together only with a few partners and maximizing revenues. I think this is a thinking which we have for all the different categories. I mean, currently the betting industry is not allowed to advertise anymore, so we are not facing that challenge for the betting industry. I mean, currently in Europe, a lot of championships are under pressure. In Spain, next year will be not allowed anymore to advertise betting brands on kits, but also in the stadium advertising. In the UK, they are discussing it. So let's see what will happen. But coming back to your question, I mean, we always would like to work together with only one partner in each category, again, to send out the strongest and best message for fans, and really to develop with one partner the best partnership, and look into all the different opportunities which a club can offer to a partner. I mean, when we talk about betting brands, for example, what I experienced and I don't know what the experience is in the US. They are mainly asking for 4 different rights. So one is the IP right, one is obviously the visibility, one is the access to the data of our fans, and the 4th one is then also to have so-called money can buy experiences, which they then offer to the customers. So these are 4, I think, important rights for a betting brand.
Kyle, in terms of standing out, you know, as you say, it's all about having that sort of presence in partnerships. What are you doing in terms of BetMGM to make yourself stand out in what is clearly a very busy marketplace?
You know, busy is certainly a great descriptor of it, but yeah, I mean, so again, tying into MGM Resorts, I think is one of the key differentiators that we have in connecting that experience. And we really view kind of MGM Resorts as a partnership in and of itself, while they are one of our parent companies, Hbsc now Entain being the other. We do view and treat that as a partnership, and so we do look for means to reach the MGM Resorts audience and further deepen that connection. So, I mean, we have the M Life Rewards program integrated within our products, and so users are able to accrue tier credits towards that and can redeem them for the likes of even shows in Vegas or rooms, etc. And we look at our team partnerships the same way and search for differentiators. So whether it's bringing to life the partnership through use of IP in our advertising across out-of-home, digital, etc., that's certainly one means. Those money can't buy experiences and hospitality that were just raised are another. A recent example of that is the Steelers being our most recent team partnership that we had announced. We're offering a decade worth of club level season tickets, and they have an incredibly long wait list for any season tickets. But we're soon to launch that sweepstakes in Pennsylvania, and all users have to do is register for our product, click a button, and then you're opted and have an opportunity to win a prize as ridiculous as that is. So those are things that we otherwise could not do, and our team partnerships unlock it for us.
Hampus, give us an overview, if you would, on what you've heard there from your colleagues.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of different insights into why ultimately, right, partnerships give back value to operators. Like I said, it's not sponsorship like it was in the old days where there's just a financial exchange of money in return for visibility. Now it's really working between an operator in this case and the team in terms of giving back on that value and delivering business back to the operator. You know, it's funny, I started my career at UEFA. I spent 9 years there, so I come from that sort of school of thought in regards to exclusivity, that less is more, exclusive rights, you know, usually globally, and brands paying a lot of money to enter into that exclusive family. So it's been really interesting to work with teams and brands in the US and finding that balance. Like I think it was Adam that said, between economics and inventory that ultimately lets both sides achieve what they're looking for. So I don't think there's a right or wrong in this case. I think there's always factors to be considered, and if you're a club, I think you need flexibility in your commercial strategy until you actually go to market and speak to the market and let that feedback also shape your decision making.
Okay, if we can bring
Andrew,
it on to the issue. Yeah,
if you don't mind,
yeah,
I'd like to just chime in here from the fan perspective too. Like what Kyle talked about with the Steelers, which is an awesome program. I think when you ask how partners differentiate themselves as well, is while the Steelers fan would love those seats, I think as importantly, what Kyle can offer them is these amazing nights to go, for a weekend at the Bologna, right, which is the most coveted hotel in Las Vegas, or as you mentioned before, the Borgata. Atlantic City is ranked as like the Borgata is number 1 A, B, and C. So I think sometimes as partners not only come and they offer our fans great rewards within our property and our portfolio. I think, like Kyle talks about, what Kyle can offer with his portfolio is not something that FanDuel or DraftKings can offer our fan base as well. So I think that's just a great point as to how we differentiate. When you say you have 2 or 3 different partners, it's to make sure that not all 3 partners are offering the same thing to the fans, right? And how do you make sure you maximize what our partner has to really appeal to our fan base? And I think Kyle has a really impressive portfolio of benefits that others can't offer.
Yeah, absolutely. One of those benefits that certainly in terms of the rest of the world tends to be offered as a premium item really is the chance to have your branding appear on the team kit. We were talking just earlier today on a different webinar about a unique arrangement really, where one of the lowest grade soccer teams in the UK, Stevenage, wore the branding of Burger King, and it was all around having that branding on computer games, and they sold out of shirts, and they got worldwide recognition, despite being at the bottom of the 4th tier of English soccer. So in the rest of the world, kit branding is important, but it's not really taken off at all, or not really seen as something of interest in the US. As I understand it, Adam, only the MLS allow kit branding for betting brands at least. Would that, is that likely to change, do you think? And is that something that would be seen as welcome? Would it add to the offer?
I think it's a great question. The NBA launched a program. I think we're going into year 4 or year 3. Excuse me, I should know the answer to that. Of the patch that we have on our jerseys, and I think when it was first introduced, the thought process was, okay, do you have the traditional players in the top 25 categories stepping up and coming in? And I think what we've seen is the polar opposite. I believe it was 17 of the patches that were sold were all brand new companies and categories coming into sport, which was amazing, right? So you saw this as this great revenue stream. While I know that MLB has looked at it really closely, the NHL has been looking at it closely as well. I think that there is a future for it, because I think that leagues are always looking for ways to give their clubs the opportunity to drive more revenue. Whether that's with betting partners, I think is to be seen. And I would almost, if you don't mind, steal your job for a second, I would almost kick it to Kyle, because what I would say is, the average patch today in the NBA is, let's call it in the $5+ million a year range. So as we go back again and we talk about the economics of how they're building, I'd be curious if Kyle would say, hey, I don't know that it would ever be worth to spend $5 to $10 to $15 million a year to be on one NBA team's patch versus taking that money and spreading that out, in other ways of scale.
Yeah, so I think to that point, we do have limited resources, and we need to be careful where we do allocate those resources. It's undoubtedly valuable real estate, and a lot of earned media value associated. We've dabbled here and there with sponsorships of PGA golfers, which was recently permitted, and we've even gotten a bit lucky with that, seeing Jason Kokrak win the CJ Cup wearing a BetMGM hat. Also, coincidentally, that tournament being hosted at MGM Resort Shadow Creek out in Vegas. So that couldn't have been scripted any better there. But I'll admit that largely we're a direct response type of marketing company. And at our core, we're also a digital product, and the world's becoming even more digitized. I think COVID's helped accelerate that. And even a lot of teams nowadays, their ticketing is fully digital. And so they have more fans downloading and using their apps, which are a great medium for us to engage with them. Consider that primarily, BetMGM is an app, while there's a small percentage that do engage with our products and transact on desktop. The large majority is mobile app. And so focusing on those areas are just going to be much more effective for us than to make the big splashy spends that that jersey sponsorship would require.
Do you think the restrictions on jersey sponsorship in the States, is that based on sort of family values, do you think, of the individual sports? I mean, is there, in the UK, for example, there's a situation where if a soccer team is sponsored by a betting company, then the under 18 teams of those clubs, and indeed replica shirts that are sold to young people, aren't allowed to carry a betting sponsor. But as you say, with the brand of MGM around you, and with the concept, as was mentioned earlier, about hotels in Las Vegas, people aren't averse to the concept of betting, are they? But there seems to be a shyness to actually emblazon that on the front of a shirt. Could you see a day when that changed?
I'll take that, Andrew. I think I think it's different. I think in the US, what you're going to see is the leagues working with US operators. So whereas if you take Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace used to have ManBetX, which was you couldn't even use in London. It was predominantly to market back to Asia. I think leagues here, it is so regulated in the United States that I think that the league's belief is great. There's a lot of regulation. We're going to work with those partners that we know are, great companies to work with. And with that, I think that eliminates the taboo nature that you might hear of black market and betting. I don't think you're going to see that in the United States. And I continue to say that I think this is entertainment. I think going to MGM in Vegas is about a fun time and entertainment. I think that sports betting is going to be part of the fun and entertainment that comes along with the fan experience.
Let's go to Christoph for an Italian view again on this. Christoph, I know we've established clearly that the Italian government have got restrictions on betting and how that can be used. But I just wonder, in these post-COVID times, with so much financial difficulty for clubs in particular, and the Italian game had been going through financial difficulties long before COVID, hasn't it? But in terms of rebuilding after COVID, can you see any relaxation in rules to allow the Italian clubs to take advantage of, we just mentioned there with Adam, some of the, in particular, the Asian betting companies? Can you see the rules being relaxed to help the sport grow out of COVID, recover out of COVID in Italy?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, because it would give us obviously a big financial support. But I think also, as Adam mentioned, I think it's a good fit, because we are talking about emotions, we are talking about gaming. So I think it's a credible fit. In Italy, actually, only betting brands which have a license were allowed to do betting advertising in Italy. So this was also helping to eliminate the black market, or to show clearly which company has a license and which company doesn't have a license. So I think there are some positive effects, and again, the results showed that betting continued to grow, even if they are not allowed to expose the brand. So it was not having the impact the government was hoping. What I think, and we are discussing this, and we try to work together with the betting brands we are still in contact with, is to also help let's say the business off field to grow. So I give you two examples. So we are talking to betting brands as a club, and discuss, okay, what can we do together? What can we do together to work together on a CSR program, to work together on help to grow the youth department, to grow the development of women football, to integrate, for example, disabled people to work together with a football club and take advantage of what we are doing as a football club. Perhaps taking a small percentage of a sponsorship fee to invest into these activities. And I know that the betting brands are open also to discuss to use a part of the revenues to invest into improving Italian sports. So, for example, to use that money to invest into creating football fields, or also buying equipment products which you can use at school to facilitate or to advantage sport at school. So I think there are a lot of ideas around in which all the parties can take advantage if we start again the collaboration with betting partners, not only in our interest, but in the interest for the whole country.
Hampus, from, again, looking at it from Sport Radar's perspective on what you do, I mean, we've talked at length here, obviously, about the situation in the rest of the world and the US, but in terms of the rest of the world, it's a big place. And we were talking there about the Crystal Palace. That was a really relevant point that I think Adam made, because again, only just with my own area of operation, but you know, it was a big change for sports fans, for soccer fans in the UK when games started to kick off at 12:30 lunchtime, and people were saying, well, why are we having to do that? Well, obviously the answer was because they were being broadcast at prime time, in particular in Kuala Lumpur and anywhere else around that particular part of the world, and that's where the interest was, and a lot of that interest is driven by betting companies. Hence, as Adam said, Crystal Palace sponsored by a company who you couldn't actually access in London. Do you see that South Asian market as being an untapped one as yet, perhaps for the US?
For the US, okay. Well, I think it's pretty clear, right? In Europe, it's definitely not untapped. I mean, that's if you look at the Premier League in terms of those shirt sponsorships. I think the US is not an easy market to go into, right? As a new operator, we've spoken about the brands such as BETMGM and Kyle, but also, you know, the FanDuels, the DraftKings, who have a strong market share already, and it's very, very difficult to come in and try and win part of that, right? It's getting more and more expensive, I think, by the month to be an operator coming in. So it's definitely challenging. I think sponsorship will definitely continue to be a tactic used by, you know, any new market entries, just like we've heard Adam speak about, you know, William Hill. Nobody knew who they were when they were coming into New Jersey. You need to attach yourself to something, and you know, sponsorship with the fan base and the loyalty that fans show to teams, I think, is, you know, a pretty proven model over the years. That's the business we're all in. I think when it comes to shirts, it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's the shirt sponsorship, I think, is probably the most iconic type of sponsorship, right, probably in the industry, right? I mean, it started, I think, in the UK in the 70s, and when I was doing my research for this, you know, looking at the clubs in Europe from the top 5 leagues combined are generating €1 billion a season from shirt sponsorship deals. So €1 billion, you know, from the branding on those shirts. So I think, like Adam says, with the increased pressure to generate revenue in the US, it's probably more a matter of time than a question of if, for how that gets implemented in the US as well. And NBA, MLS are already doing it. MLB looking at it for 2022, I think, possibly. And let's see whether that includes betting or not. I think probably not at the very start, right? As leagues shift to it, but betting is still very new in the US, and as it becomes more, let's say, mainstream and widely accepted, I think leagues are also going to start accepting, you know, more of its integration into the branding around the sport, and let's see when that includes things like patches or jersey branding.
And talk about sweating the asset, pardon the pun in terms of shirts, but I mean, that's very much happening at the moment, isn't it? I was at Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium the other week and noticing that whilst Etihad is the main sponsor still on the front of the shirts, the actual paperwork, you know, the actual sort of stadium is coated in banners advertising Marathon Bet sponsorship of the training kit. So they come out to warm up in Marathon Bet training kit, but then play the game in Etihad shirts, and presumably that gets them around some of those issues. I just want to spend a bit of time, whilst we have that time, having a look at the situation in terms of national approaches, perhaps for Christoph in Italy, but also state by state approaches for Adam and Kyle. Does that US system of state government, does that help or hinder the ability to put together packages with partners? Kyle, you've got a wry smile on your face there. Let's go with you first, Kyle.
Or yeah, no, I mean, it's certainly an additional hurdle, and I think the team partnerships, they are positioned best here versus a national partner or league partnership, in the sense that if we're only operating in a handful of states, we really want to make an investment in those states, and so reaching fans in California today, that's not necessarily going to offer value to us, but we're operating in, let's just say, New Jersey and Pennsylvania as an example right now. So partnerships that do key on those states and where we're not going to have as much national wastage are certainly going to be more appealing. So I think that that state by state rollout certainly affects how we view partnerships. And so we look for partnerships that either do allow us to target the right folks that we want to reach, or partnerships that are long term and scale up as new states come on board. And so I think, again, that's really a big part of our calculus as we explore and evaluate partnerships. But then in respect to the US landscape, another consideration is just the licensing and registration required across the states, which is again different in each of those states. So I think Adam made the point earlier that is a heavily regulated market, and hopefully those regulations will allow us to grow as an industry more responsibly. And I mean, responsible gaming is important to us. We work closely with the AGA and a handful of other responsible gaming entities, and so I think there's a huge opportunity on hand for the industry, but responsible gaming is something that we take seriously. It's something that GBC and now Entain, as well as MGM Resorts, take seriously, and hopefully other partners will as well, so that as we continue to scale, perhaps we don't face some of those same restrictions that other countries may be encountering now, such as Italy.
Yeah, let's, Christoph, on the Italian experience, what would you look for from an American partner? I mean, in terms of looking to open up the American influence into your game, I mean, what sort of things would drive a partnership, do you think, between an Italian club and a company like Kyle's, for example?
Yeah, I mean, we actually have a Canadian businessman as our owner. He's also the owner of the Montreal Impact. So we're looking into the Canadian and the American market, and we're actually looking together with the Montreal Impact in which way we can find synergies, in which way we can work together on the technical part, but then also on the commercial part. I mean, Serie A is a global product, so we have visibility in all the different countries. So we're looking in all the countries. Obviously, in some markets we are stronger, in other markets we are less stronger. But again, we are looking into the American market. We are looking into companies which are interested in working together with us, taking advantage of the visibility we have in America. We have, for example, developed 2 years ago a virtual advertising, which allows us to sell some areas. In our case, it's behind the goals and alongside the trainer benches, visibility only to the American market. We did this actually also to Asia, where we find together with Sportradar an Asian betting partner. So the new technology allows us also to, let's say, to personalize our advertising. And then obviously in the American market, we are looking for a partner which helps also us in increasing our visibility and doing something together, and speaking to the football industry, which is interested in Serie A, which is interested in Bologna, using our IP rights to give also us visibility. So sometimes also ourselves, we can take advantage of a partner. So it's not only about the money, but it's also about the opportunity to grow visibility in a market where we obviously have less visibility than our home market.
Adam, thank you, Christoph. Adam, if I can just come to you about just starting to think about pulling all this together, really, and what do you think other sponsorship categories can learn from the success stories of betting. We've spent a bit of time looking at how it works and the good and the bad, if you like. But there's obviously been a lot of success stories in betting partnerships, and Kyle's being a good one. Just generally looking across the world of sponsorship and partnering in sport, what are some of the best bits that you would encourage other sponsors to take from the world of betting?
I think how do you enhance the fan experience is always that's the umbrella, right? If you can, I always give people the example we have in Philadelphia. There's a quick service restaurant named Wendy's, similar to a McDonald's, which you all know globally. And we have a great program. It's called the Frosty Freeze Out. And in the second half of a game, if the away opponent misses 2 free throws in a row, everybody wins a free Frosty. Just for those that don't know, a Frosty is essentially a milkshake. It has a retail value of 99 cents and probably costs Wendy somewhere in the range of 4 cents. And if I could tell you when somebody misses that second free throw, you thought we just gave everybody $1 million. So I think engagement, and I think what Kyle and BetMGM does so well and other operators is they enhance the experience. I mean, some of the things that you've seen, Kyle's old shop in FanDuel, I remember early on when they were a partner of ours with the Devils, they would put out bets, and it was you could bet on the Devils, and if the Devils were losing the bet after the second period, they just pay you back. And it was like, wait, what? Like, is that right? That can't be right. That's too good to be true. And I think where other brands, beer brands, Anheuser-Busch has done a great job of this in the United States. It's like, how do you just understand it's an experience? Where can you give money can't buy experiences? And how do you enhance the engagement for our fans? Because if you enhance the engagement, you make their experience better, then they are much more likely to come onto your platform, no matter what category you're in.
Hampus, if I can come to you on this one, give us an overview again, if you would. I mean, how do you measure the success of a partnership? There's all sorts of different components we've established there, lots of different things to find one that works well. But how would you look at measuring success of a partnership?
Well, yeah, no, thanks, Andrew. And I think just to finish off on sort of what Adam was saying, I think that there are few sponsorship categories that have such a direct link to ultimately what's happening in the property which you're sponsoring is betting, right? Like it's literally betting on the outcome of the sport, and that's naturally going to be a lot more engaging than perhaps other sponsorship categories or of brands that are attaching themselves to that team. And if you can leverage that correctly, and as we're starting to see more and more in the US with let's say the adoption of in-play betting, which still has a long way to go to get to the point of where it's like dominating the handle like it is in the rest of the world, then if you're integrating that well, like that's more than just sponsorship, that's fan engagement right there, because people are naturally going to follow any game that they're betting on. And if you can then react to what's happening in play and the odds are moving because something happened in the game, it's been proven, I think, time after time that you're following the game with a lot more interest if you have a wager on it. So I think that side of it goes without saying. And I think what we were speaking about a little bit before in regards to the international aspect of all of this, I think is really interesting, where the likes of Christoph obviously is looking to see what can Bologna bring to operators in the US. Naturally, affinity is always going to be with the domestic clubs. I think that's what it is in any country. But at the end of the day, there are going to be operators out there who from a strategy or a budget point of view, can't afford to partner with the big domestic teams, and maybe they will be looking to go after a specific kind of niche in the market, such as soccer fans. And there's a lot of Americans who watch European or Latin American soccer, and if you then find a way to activate that and partner with European clubs in the US, and you can be across the national broadcast and not just the regional broadcast, that could be interesting. Equally for American teams like Adams, going into Europe, Adam is partnering with big operators in the US. Many of them, like William Hill, they stem from Europe, right? They're running a business over here too. When the day comes that those partnerships can also become international, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, you have a lot of European sport fans over here who are craving more content, related to the US sport. So if a partnership can help deliver that, and Adam can bring a partnership to Europe where the 76ers partner with a European sports book and bring content into the app that people are using, going on their betting app every day, it's a pretty good way as well to build up the story and the product of a team over here, which is more than just getting a quick check. It's actually working with the team, working with the brand, I should say, to build up your team awareness and story around that. So it goes both ways. And in regards to kind of measuring performance, I think at the end of the day, this is a digital category first and for all, and you can track performance a lot better than you can in most other sponsorship categories. And like we said at the beginning of the call, I think the rights holders who understand the value of their fan data and who are using it in the right way and working with operators to actually target fans in the right way, add value to their experience, and serve up content linked to betting in a fun and engaging way, they're the ones who are going to do the best.
Okay, let's just, in the final 5 minutes or so that we have, gentlemen, just have a look forward to 2021. I think we've all had enough of 2020 already, haven't we? But 2021 is going to bring lots of challenges, lots of excitement, really, right across the board. And obviously, for you guys in the States, you've got a change of leadership as well. Kyle, what do you think are going to be the most important things, really, in terms of sponsorship and in terms of your own role? How do you see everybody going back into stadiums, fans re-engaging, clubs reactivating, the need for more funds and finance? What do you see as being important in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, I think anecdotally, as a sports fan myself, like the opportunity to get back into the stadium or the arena to watch live sports is something I'm looking forward to. And so I think people, I mean, it might take a little bit of time for people to get comfort, but I don't expect a huge degree of apprehension once the proper precautions are there, and teams have already made huge strides in respect to public health and safety, with the vaccine aside. And so I think the teams are well positioned. Adam can probably speak more to this later on, but I think they're well positioned to receive fans, and fans are going to be eager to get back. And I think that one of the silver linings of the past year is that it also forced us as operators and teams to consider new avenues. And so I think we'll probably be better for it in respect to reaching fans across the variety of means and touch points, and we should be able to reap those benefits as things normalize elsewhere. But as a whole, we might be operating in only 10 states now. A year from now, that's likely to double, and partnerships are going to be key to our efforts to expand to those new states and engage with their fans, and hopefully their fans will trial our products, enjoy them, and find that it is a value add to their overall sports experience.
Kyle, thank you. Let's go to Christoph in Italy. What do you see as being opportunities, if you like, through sponsorship to re-engage with fans as fans go back to your stadiums, Christoph?
Yeah, I mean, as Kai said, I think there is a big hunger. There is interest, and people would love to go back to the stadium, with friends, live the passion they have, get back that live feeling which is currently missing. So I'm convinced that there will be a lot of interest to go back to the stadium. At the same time, with the club, we have to ensure that people feel safe, that they know, okay, going to the stadium is not a threat, it's not taking risk, it's a safe environment. At the same time, talking about stadiums, I think We have to continue to invest into what especially the younger audience needs to go to the stadium, because this is a big challenge. In Italy, we are facing the younger audience to bring it to the stadium. Talking about sponsorships, I mean, clearly visibility will continue to be important for sponsors, but I think what will be more and more important, and COVID is accelerating a little bit this development, is that companies can convert investment immediately into business. And the fastest way is obviously using the data of the club to communicate with our fans and convert that into business. And for doing so, we have to improve our data management. We have to get more information about our fans. Partly, we don't even know who are our fans, and we don't know often what our fans are doing. So we have to improve the quality of our data management, which then obviously we have to use for our own purpose, like merchandising business or other things, but then also to give to our partners, to facilitate our partners to make business with the data we deliver them and make their investment successful.
Christoph, thank you. Adam, to you, what does 2021 look like for HBSE, do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, the NBA season for us is kicking off December 22nd, which is crazy. I mean, in about a week. And the NHL is, from everything we're hearing, it looks like January 13th is going to kick off. And you talk about new leadership in the United States with Joe Biden, and I know his commitment to, you know, really locking down on COVID over his first 100 days. I think where our seasons are and where we sit in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, the expectations of us having fans, at least for the first half of the season, not likely. You know, I think it's different if you're a baseball team as the vaccine rolls out and then potentially the NFL. We do believe that we'll be back with full fans by the 21-22 season, so hopefully by September of 21. But I think what does that mean for us, and this is what's great about working with our partners, is we put on a show 41 nights a year in each of our arenas. It's not only the play, but it's at the break and everyone's having fun and they're doing the wave and they're playing games. I think that sports betting operators have such an awesome opportunity right now, because we want to make sure that our fans are getting that level of entertainment and engagement. And there's no better category to be able to offer this to our fans than to give them games and different in-play games that they can be doing to make sure that they don't lose that sense of fun, where it's not just watching the actual basketball or just watching the hockey. But part of why we love going is we love the entertainment that our teams put on during those timeouts and during those breaks. And I think that sports betting operators are set up arguably better than any other category to enhance the fan experience as our fans are sitting on their sitting at home, chomping at the bit like I will be to get back into the arenas next year.
Well, we hope it's a good year for you all. Hampus, if you could round things off for us, really. I mean, in terms of, well, A, in terms of what you've heard this afternoon, and B, what you think 2021, the opportunities that are there in 2021 for continued growth for Sport Radar.
Well, what I've heard, I think things are looking pretty positive all in all, right? Even though we've had a tough year, I think sports and organizations working with sports have rebounded very well, and I, like Kyle, can't wait to get back into a stadium and watch it live. Let's see when that is over here. I still think it's going to take time. I think it's been a really tough year for a lot of people, including many sports fans, and I think, you know, giving back to that fan base, whether you're a team or a brand, I think is still really important in the months to come. The brands and the teams that do that in various creative ways will win in the long run. I think next summer, fingers crossed, we have a big summer of sport ahead of ourselves as well. I mean, obviously, year-round events in the US, but also in other parts of the world. You know, we have the Euro here in Europe. We have the Olympics over in Asia. Let's see how they will all come together. But I think the broadcast experience is going to probably take another step up. If you're looking at, you know, 5G now and mobile, and that'll be interesting to see what innovation they bring. And I think also brands attached to all these events, right? Whether you're a sponsor or you're a sports book who's taking advantage of them, I think going to keep pushing the bar in terms of how we capitalize on these live sports events and bring content into, you know, in my phone or my home, or, you know, and ways to engage with that. And like Adam said, sports betting is you know, a simple, fun way to do that. And you know, whether it's through a free-to-play game or you're actually going to wager a few dollars on the outcome, either or, it's to trial that product. So yeah, looking forward to a big year ahead, and keep working with friends and colleagues like everyone on the panel today.
Okay, Hampus, thank you very much indeed. Well, we are just about out of time, but I'm sure people can continue the debate via social media. Thank you very much indeed to Christoph, to you, Adam, as well. Thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Hampus, for your contributions this afternoon. And wish you all a good festive season and a very happy 2021.
Thanks for having me.